This is Leonard Lee. I'm Managing Director and Founder of neXt. For today's webinar, we'll be talking about CES 2018, and we'll be providing an event review. Hopefully, we'll be able to give you great insight from the interactions that we had with many companies there. What I'd like to do is introduce neXt. I am an executive consultant with 23 years of experience. I've worked with some of the leading firms, including Ernst & Young, PwC, IBM, and Gartner. What we want to do is we want to work with entrepreneurs, enterprises, and governments in building a better digital future for all. Joining me today is Akshay Sharma. He is a former Gartner analyst that covered a wide range of topics, including 5G, SD-WAN, and he's worked with some great firms such as Siemens, Bell, and Nortel. He's widely published, widely referenced, and he'll be joining me in this webinar. Now, as far as some of the things that Akshay has done in very short order with us here at neXt, he's already published a paper called Retail Hospitality Industries Digitally Transformed, the Next Mobile Carrier Killer App. We're really happy to have Akshay on board, and I think his engagement in this session is going to be very, very helpful and exciting. So let's talk about CES 2018. I think everyone knows this event. It's been widely covered throughout the world, and if you haven't heard about it, it really is that singularity where consumer technology and digital technology converge and express themselves. It's an absolutely massive event for those of you who haven't been there. Here's a few metrics that I wanted to share with you about the event. According to my Apple Watch, in the 4 days that I attended, I personally walked 18 miles through endless rows of companies, and I had particular attention to this new area called Eureka Park, and I scanned probably over 900 startups. That was a great opportunity to see some of these innovative entrepreneurs apply some of these buzzword technologies out there today in some very innovative products and services. I had over 120 interactions, so you can only imagine how busy we were, and also attended 6 conference sessions that we thought were important on the topics of 5G, autonomous driving, and smart city. But what is it that neXt focused on? We knew going in that it was going to be a very daunting exercise and effort, and indeed it was. But we wanted to look at what was happening in smart transportation, connected healthcare and fitness, wearables, augmented reality and virtual reality, consumer blockchain applications. That's one that we're particularly interested in because we want to see how consumer electronics companies are leveraging blockchain and how that's being expressed in products and services. Smart cities, home entertainment and media, renewable packaging, and gaming and digital twin tech. And so what are we going to cover today? What we want to do here is, number one, share with you our key takeaways and insights from the event. And then we'll go into Akshay and Leonard's top 5 picks of CES 2018. And here, Akshay is going to go over the 5 technologies and vendors that he thought were really exciting, and I will do the same. So you'll have a total of 10 companies and products that we'll discuss there. And then we will cap off the presentation with predictions for 2018. If we have some time left over, we'll open the floor for questions and answers. So let's jump into key takeaways and insight. And before we jump into this, thank you so much, Akshay, for participating in this, and your collaboration on this has been fantastic. So let's talk about the first takeaway, which is smart cities need a holistic vision and a holistic approach. This takeaway was sourced from a number of sessions that we attended on the topic of smart cities. Discussion topics range everywhere from the technology, applications, and the funding of these smart city initiatives. We hear about smart cities a lot, and we've seen a lot of architectures, conceptual designs of what a smart city is comprised of. One of the things that Akshay and I have been talking about is how nebulous the definition of smart city has become and how specific to certain archetypical use cases, it is a discussion topic. You can't just go in and say, hey, look, we have a smart city solution for you. And then the other thing that we noticed was, if we were to sit there and borrow some Gartner parlance, a lot of the discussions around smart cities is very much what Gartner calls mode one. It's automating or reducing costs on the legacy stuff, and not really looking at how do we think in terms of mode two, which is more of the innovative point of view and lens that you would apply to the problem using digital technology. As much as there's talk about innovation in smart cities, a lot of what people are actually putting forth in terms of solutions seem to really be more of that, let's improve and lower costs as a value proposition.
Mode one is very linear. It's like the classic waterfall, very sequential, very siloed, and it's very legacy oriented. And so a lot of the smart city initiatives are like that. They're just siloed. Let's put a surveillance camera on a lamppost. Let's put some electronics and intelligence for metering. Let's do some traffic management. But they're very siloed. They're not holistic. They're not interconnected. And what we're seeing now in mode two is the hyper-connected. Everything is agile. Everything is cloud as well as premise-based with IoT. And there's going to be an interconnection there, an interplay, where it's the traffic police officer who can not only see traffic, but maybe also control the lighting, the red lights, the traffic lights, but maybe even control other aspects. Maybe there's potholes, and maybe the supply chain of the asphalt paving companies need to be notified. Or maybe they're seeing other things, and it's more of a holistic end-to-end type approach rather than just the silos of the past. And so mode two is definitely agile. It's a DevOps style of, if you fail, fail fast. If you succeed, deploy quickly, recover quickly. It's a whole new agile approach to development, and we need to now think agile, not just from a cloud software point of view, but from a holistic end-to-end point of view.
Yeah, and the final point on this is when you talk about the holistic vision, it really refers to the challenges a lot of smart city programs have selling the concept of smart city. We think there's a significant amount of clarity that can be applied to this topic for a lot of the municipalities and large urban areas that are looking at smart city solutions. The more exciting potential here is leveraging technology and re-envisioning what cities and towns can look like, enabled by digital technology. And I think that's that next level beyond what we're calling mode two. The next takeaway is personal mobility, taking to the catwalk. Stylish and sexy. I don't know what your experiences have been with personal mobility, but for the most part, folks think of mobility in terms of the automobile, especially in the United States. Now, if you go to Netherlands, there's many folks who use bikes, and in China, bicycles, mopeds, and various other modes of transportation are used. In the last couple of years, e-bikes have become the rage. We hear of many companies in China, here in the United States, that are renting, asset sharing bikes, and we're also seeing them becoming electrified. One of the things that we noticed at CES 2018 is there's a number of vendors that are putting out some very exciting designs. Hybrid designs that merge the concept of a bike with a moped or a motorcycle. And there's a sexy element to how they're presenting these vehicles. I think that's a mindset change in how vendors are approaching the bicycle. Electric drives are becoming a very prevalent part of these offerings, in addition to other things like connectivity and digital interfaces.
We've gone from the Segway of the past. Now we're talking about Segways with automation, with intelligence, self-driving Segways. We've got maps on the Segway. We've got cameras and the Segway is not only taking us there, but we're also enjoying what we're doing, and it looks good. We've seen the e-Palette from Toyota, which is amazing. It's going to revolutionize logistics, mobility beyond just the car. We know the cars can be sexy, but it's now taking it to another level.
This is really exciting because this trend will yield some nice options for the future of mobility as well as with smart cities. And I think we see that trend impact cities in Asia. The next key takeaway here is related to wearables. In 2017, people were scratching their heads about wearables. We saw a lot of reports talking about the decline of the growth in smartwatch sales and even wearable sales overall. CES 2018 was really interesting. Well, one of the things that we noticed is a thematic shift away from basic fitness to professional sports and athletics, and in parallel, remote health. We see wearables now enabled by more advanced and more accurate sensors. We think is a more premium market for this technology. E-sporting of the wearables that was very prevalent at the show. In fact, they had an area that looked like a sports booking area of a casino where they were conducting keynotes, and they were heavily promoting the sport themes.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen wearables have its ups and downs. Now I think it's beyond just a fitness tracker, but it's actually becoming elegant. We're seeing the smart watches, for example, that used to be tethered via Bluetooth to a smartphone to make calls. Now you don't need that. The wearable is a phone. It's a camera. It's actually doing something beyond just telling time. And it's actually looking pretty nice and elegant now. So the form factor is becoming pretty cool. And the band itself is becoming an attractive feature of these wearables as well.
Right, and increasingly functional as well. You're seeing a lot of peripherals that are now being built around these wearable cores, and also new types of sensor deployments like fabrics, which was really interesting to see.
And the glasses are becoming cool as well.
The fourth takeaway here is say bye to smart speakers and say hi to digital companions. One of the things that was quite exciting for me was to see how there's this category of technology and products that we're calling digital companions that are quickly emerging, and they are interesting in that, let's take Alexa Echo, for instance. Interacting with a cylinder is a bit cold. People talk about VPAs and smart speakers being all the rage of 2017, but you know what? I've had a VPA on my iPhone since 2011. I don't use it all that much, and I don't particularly like talking to my phone. Important shift going forward in how humans interact with technology is this digital companion. And we saw a number of vendors that had some really compelling offerings. Jibo is one of them, and we'll talk about these offerings later. This is a very exciting category that I think people should keep an eye out on.
Bringing back the Aibo is another example of that too.
Yeah, and thanks for sharing that. I didn't get to go over and check out Aibo. Great to see Sony doing some really cool stuff. In a lot of ways, they're ahead of their time with things like Home, which is a VR environment. Maybe they were just a little ahead of the curve, and the readiness is there now to make some of their ideas viable. So the fifth takeaway was virtual reality and augmented reality facing reality. Everyone knows virtual reality the last 2 years has been the topic, with Oculus Rift getting purchased by Facebook and HTC with the Vive. Several companies really putting a lot of investment into virtual reality and also augmented reality. And the odd thing here is that initially the focus was on virtual reality, and you found out, wait a minute, people get dizzy and throw up within 30 minutes. So then the conversation moved over to augmented reality to see whether or not this other kind of digital reality present a faster opportunity. But the impression that we got at CES 2018 was both of them fit reality. Augmented reality is going to continue to be constrained by hardware, especially the visual modes of augmented reality. Akshay and we've spoken to many clients and advised them on this topic to help dispel a lot of the hype around virtual reality and augmented reality. But the fact of the matter is the technology is not quite there yet. And virtual reality, I think it's interesting to see a lot of the innovations happening there in terms of the quality of the experience. But there again, I don't know how you can get into more of an untethered mode and what the mobile virtual reality application would really look like.
It's facing reality. I think you hit it right on. There's usability issues. The radius that you could view things from was very narrow in some of these devices. And now, we're seeing it opening up. We're seeing some issues about just the quality of the screen that you're watching. Because it's so up close to your eyeball, if it's too high resolution, you get a grainy look. It's almost like seeing things through a screen. You could actually see the pixels.
Right. Yeah,
If it's
exactly.
lower resolution, it's kind of fuzzy, but it's too fuzzy. So,
Hmm.
and then you get a headache
Yeah.
from that. So I still think there's work to be done, but we're seeing some innovation come. So hopefully it'll get
Right.
resolved in this coming year.
One of the bright spots is on the industrial side. I think there's a number of really cool industrial applications that are starting to emerge. Augmented reality, virtual reality, industries have been using it for quite some time, but now that the technology is getting cheaper, the compute power is there. On the industrial side, I think we're going to see some real high value applications coming.
Exactly. Yep.
Let's move on to the last takeaway, which is the bifurcated future of transportation, east versus west. What do we mean by that? We mean that there seems to be two philosophies on what the future of transportation is going to look like, two different points of view or philosophies. If you go to the Toyota booth, the Honda booth, what you notice is many expressions of alternative transportation that is not car-centric. On the other hand, when you look at BMW, you look at Ford or GM, their focus is on continuing to automate, continuing to enhance the car-centric mode of transportation or the model of transportation. I think this has huge implications for the auto industry because when you really look at what digital technology can do for us in the future, automating the car and just centering everything around the car is, quite frankly, mode one.
No, I agree. In fact, I think we need to think outside of the box, literally the car. We need to think about robots that are moving pallets like the Toyota e-pallet.
Right.
Interestingly enough, Toyota and Honda investing in personal robots as well. They're literally thinking outside of the car rather than putting everything in the car.
I just thought some of the innovations in robotics, in particular the Japanese automakers, was extraordinary, visionary, very exciting stuff. We've seen Japanese companies kind of take a backseat in the innovation conversation. It'll be interesting to see if they start to take the lead again. You see Japanese, Chinese companies really pushing the envelope in terms of thinking differently, where we see American and German and European automakers really still fixated on the car. Those were our 6 key takeaways from CES 2018. Now we're going to move on to the second topic, agenda topic, which is Akshay and Leonard's top 5 picks of CES 2018. Akshay, we're going to start off with you, and we're going to start off with number 5, and it is, voila, Meta 2 AR by Meta.
So back to our discussion a few minutes ago about AR and VR acquiring more usability aspects. Part of usability is the viewing angle. In the case of Meta, as you could see with the clear glass, it's double the viewing angle of any other AR or VR device that you're seeing out there. It's truly a clear piece of plastic that you see there. So the viewing angle is unlike any other system. They use positional tracking using algorithms. It does not require, onboard calibration or mapping ahead of time or GPS or any.
Right.
It's very usable, and it costs half of all the others. So it's literally in the hundreds of dollars rather than thousands of dollars. So that's part of the usability aspect. So I thought that, these guys are truly innovating outside of the box, literally.
It looks like a tethered version of HoloLens. And if any of you have ever used HoloLens, you know that it takes a good amount of adjusting. Very interesting, exciting pick, and I think I agree with you. It's important for that whole experience aspect to be enhanced, especially for mixed reality devices. Let's check out number 4. So you have here solid state LiDAR by Leonard.
It's the world's first solid state LiDAR for autonomous driving that's going to be in the hundreds of dollars rather than tens of thousands of dollars that existing LiDAR systems cost today.
Wow, I think that's huge because the cost is one of the barriers to adoption right now, especially in the early days of autonomous. That was one of the things that I wrote about on my paper on the future of the car. It's one of the headwinds, and I think it's very significant. So let's move on to 3. You have in-vehicle dashboard by Harman.
Hopefully the autonomous driving will solve the distracted driving. So
The car is going to try to make you hungry.
exactly. I mean, you could
As you're on route. Okay.
You could see the menu. You could see the food that you're going to be buying in the drive-throughs. They're going from the evolution, to quote Dinesh Paliwal, their CEO at Harman, they want to go from a device-centric or car-centric experience to an experience-centric environment. So it's going from literally the dashboard, which is, as we all know, is an instrument cluster, to a single centralized screen of voice control, haptic feedback. If you want physical knobs, you can have physical knobs. Otherwise, it's all virtual knobs. Creating a holistic environment, including heating, air conditioning, as well as media and entertainment, and all creating that in a nice combined centralized platform.
Now, hopefully your battery doesn't run out. Okay, so let's move on to 2, right? Samsung Family Hub 3.0 with Bixby.
Samsung talked about Family 2.0 last year, which was a nice, basically big screen on your refrigerator, but it was still clunky to use. Now they put Bixby with voice recognition, but it becomes more of a, you could say, a whiteboard for leaving notes for your family members. Become seeing people on the screen, connecting other devices like your video surveillance on your front door. So if someone rings the bell, you don't have to leave your kitchen. You could even control things. You could even open the door remotely. You can adjust your thermostats. You can check in on a sleeping baby next room, all from the refrigerator screen. So now we're seeing it holistically connecting multiple dots.
Let's move on to your top pick. LEQ by Intuition.
The personal companions are becoming hot again. And we're seeing, an investment of $14 million by Toyota in a robot that looks like a robot with an iPad. But we're starting to see that it's going beyond that. It's for the elder care community that may not be tech savvy, but they can still talk. They can still convey emotion. They can convey body language. So this is a device that can capture all of that and control sound, lighting, and can even remind the elder person, check their medicine or check any vitals, and actually use it for conference bridging to family members. So it's combining a lot of communication modes into one platform.
Let's move on to my list. So my pick for number 5 was the electric scooter by UJet. This is a great example of what I was talking about before with the bicycle or e-bike taking the fashion route. What was really impressive about the UJet electric scooter was not only the design, but some of the mechanical innovations that were incorporated into the design. It gets about 150 kilometers, which I think is about 80 miles. That's the range. Has a top speed of around 30 miles per hour. It can be charged in your home using a regular electrical outlet in about 2 hours. The reason why I picked this is because I think this is an example of what's going to be an important part of a personal mobility strategy going forward for the economy.
I think this is part of that personal mobility theme. But we're also seeing so many bikes being lost. And I think the fact that there's some GPS tracking capability and
Yeah, exactly. It's very IoT enabled, and there's a digital interface. Now, on the other side of the handlebar, this beautiful little screen, and you can also control and track the scooter on your iPhone or Android device. I mean, it's highly connected. In fact, probably more than most cars are today. So it's almost like this category is leapfrogging the auto. That was my 5. Number 4 was Plantario. This is a Mexican company. What really was interesting for me about this, one device that Plantario offers, is that you literally bring farming into your home. And there's sensors in this device. There's a LED lighting to provide the light source for the plants. It's an intelligent device that has algorithms for how to grow certain types of plants. Also has sensors that can monitor soil quality. It can also auto irrigate plants that you put in the device. I was just really impressed with, number 1, the concept. Number 2, the possibilities in applying this in, let's say, a smart city environment. Imagine if instead of having these massive sprawling farms, like we do in the United States, people growing their own food and having urban farmers, and they could maybe scale these types of devices up to make that feasible, allow people to get fresh food grown locally. Let's move on to 3, Jibo by Jibo. This is my smart companion pick designed by a team that's designed the iRobot. If you're familiar with the vacuum cleaner robot that's been around for quite some time, they were part of that team. What was really impressive about this device was how they engineered behavior, physical behavior to the device. So if you ever go and check out Jibo on their site, you'll see some demos and how this device interacts with people. And it's intelligent. So not only does it have what seems like physical behavior, it's also intelligent and is able to recognize people. Say that you have one of these things in your living room. It'll know who you are, and it will be able to recognize your face and then respond to you in a personalized way. I thought Jibo is a great example of what we were talking about earlier, how these digital companions are the next level in human to machine interaction and communication. And number 2 for me was Lomo Go by Segway. This device was presented in 2016. This year took what I think is the next step. Akshay, you and I talked about how some of these innovative mobility companies are looking at robots, how they can address the last 100 yards of logistics and transportation. I thought that this device really represented a design and a product that reflects what we were talking about earlier. And for those of you who are familiar with Segway, it used to be an American company, was bought out by Chinese investors, and they're going to be releasing Lomo Go this year as a smart logistics robot.
Exactly. And on this note, we're starting to see, Domino's even trial robot delivery to your house. So it's that last 100 feet that may not be addressable by a drone. Maybe it's something more practical like this.
There you go. Number 1 is ePallet by Toyota. We talked earlier about that bifurcated vision for the future of transportation. I thought the ePallet was just great out of the box thinking. It is an idea that I feel is a convergence of a number of key technologies that we're talking about today: IoT, AI, electric drive technologies, curb screens. The vision that they presented was unfamiliar, but it was compelling at the same time, meaning that you could really see the value of what they're thinking in terms of the application of ePallet. And it's not a car. It's going to be exciting to see where Toyota takes ePallet.
Imagine from Amazon Fresh through all of this. You don't need a drone anymore. It could be through this.
Absolutely. That's Leonard and Akshay's top 5 picks of CES 2018. We're going to now move on to the last segment of our discussion, which is our predictions for 2018. And let's start off with number 1, which is robotics and AI convergence will drive new people to machine interaction designs. Akshay and I have talked about some of these digital companions really driving the edge of what human interaction with devices will be. What we expect happening in 2018 is that we're going to continue to see robotics start to take the digital back into the physical and create new experiences between humans and the devices that we interface with every day.
Exactly. And we're going to see these hopefully in form factors that everyone can purchase. You don't have to have a $10 million robot from SoftBank Pepper powered by IBM Watson and have a whole team around it. You could actually have personal robots that cost a couple $100.
Number 2 is AR will go audio as conversational AI provides context-driven info. Talk about AR getting a taste of reality. The low-hanging fruit in AR is really audio. And so if you can imagine having your, say, Apple AirPods in your ear, and as you walk around, Siri is talking back to you and giving you context-based information, having a conversation with you rather than you having to invoke Siri to initiate a conversation. You can have two-way interaction. That's probably the lowest hanging fruit versus trying to create a headset that people are going to actually want to wear. I saw a number of headsets there. Quite frankly, they're still very clunky, and the battery life is really not all that great. So I think those are the challenges that AR faces. And I think some of the smart vendors are going to start looking at how do we now leverage AI to drive some of these AR use cases using audio versus the visual stuff.
Context is key here. Knowing a lot of contextual information, knowing maybe your mood or trying to determine your mood from the tone of voice, having some sensors, and then collecting all of this, and then having AI applied to it with some intelligence, and then maybe affecting what you see with AR. Are you seeing the weather? Are you selecting TV channels on your glasses that you're wearing on the lens itself? And so having more contextual information, I think, instead of just bombarding people with everything, being more location aware, app aware, session aware, I think is going to become key.
Totally agree with you. All right, number 3, delivery drones will take a backseat to delivery droids. Here, we've shown a number of examples. We showed the Segway offering as well as the e-pallet. The drones, I think, are going to be challenging, don't you think? Implementations have hit a lot of headwinds to make drone-based delivery really a viable thing.
Exactly. In fact,
I think from a regulatory perspective,
not only a headwind, but the wind or the FAA, the blades. I'm scared about someone losing an eye or something, getting cut with blades.
So number 5, actually, I'm going to let you take this because I know 5G is your baby. 5G and connected car supporting lower latencies.
So we've seen 5G, the IEEE presented a lot of their initiatives. Now, finally, there's a standard that's out. We've been hearing about 5G for the past few years. But now I think we're starting to see some actual trials. We're going to see in the Winter Olympics in Korea, we're going to see some 5G streaming video. And then Tokyo Olympics in 2020, we're going to see 8K streaming video. Unlike all the other Gs, which was a stepwise revolution on the frequency use and the coding schemes. But unlike all the other Gs, 5G is actually still going to be based on LTE concepts. However, architecturally, they're going to be using more cloud-based nano data centers closer to the edge to minimize latency. You're going to see more of a distributed architecture with small cells. You're going to see heterogeneous networks. You're going to see even unlicensed spectrum with licensed spectrum all coexisting. You're going to see all kinds of newer frequencies in the millimeter wave and above, allowing for very high speed, even gigabit speeds if needed. So we're going to see all kinds of nuances that 5G will bring. And I think the perfect application will be the connected car, making the car truly like a video gaming experience where, as we know from video gaming, latency matters, and we're going to see the car driving experience being almost like a video game experience.
I'm going to be excited to see some of the applications that folks come up with. I spoke to several vendors and, they bring up safety all the time, but many haven't really thought through, well, okay, safety, but what function does low latency connection enable? It'll be interesting to see how all that evolves over the next year.
Exactly.
So, great. Solid state LiDAR moves beyond the car to moving robots. And for those of you who don't know, Akshay loves cars. So I give all the car stuff to him.
Okay. So, in fact, we have a talk.
Knock yourself out.
The connected car. We talked earlier about the Leonard company as one of the highlights of the show, where they're actually developing a solid state chip that's going to cost a couple $100 to do LiDAR. Now, as we know, LiDAR, which is a radar using lasers, cost upwards of $80, $90, even $100,000. You've seen these glass domes on top of the Google cars and other self-driving cars out there on the street. Well, those systems cost a lot. With this new technology from Leonard, these are going to be hundreds of dollars, which means it can now move to literally anything. Like we talked about those self-driving e-pallets to self-driving robot vehicles to deliver pizzas. We're going to see all kinds of newer applications beyond the vehicle itself.
Ladies and gentlemen, those are our 5 predictions for 2018. It'll be interesting to see how this year transpires and what we'll see in CES 2019, how you can find more information about what we discussed. So number one source, go to our website, www.next-curve.com. You can also download our Rethink research note that will be posted there as well. If you really want to dig deep into what we experienced and the insights that we gather and how it applies to your business, then you can set up an inquiry call with us. And there's a number of options that you can use to engage with us. We offer a range of services, and you can go to our site to check out the portfolio of services that we do offer around innovation ideation, digital landscaping, innovation to market. So that's your whole innovation process. Finally, digital business reinvention. As far as engagement formats, there's 4 ways that we engage with our clients. We do custom projects. We also host workshops and seminars on various topics of interest of our clients, and virtual boardrooms for executive teams that want advice on digital strategy and their digital transformation. And then we also have expert panels and inquiries, as I mentioned. So you can get on a call with Akshay and myself. What will be a growing number of neXt principals in the near future around key digital topics of the day. And if you have any questions, give me a call. Again, my name is Leonard Lee, Managing Director of neXt. So with that, thank you everyone for attending. We hope this was insightful. Keep an eye out for our agenda. We'll be posting that on our website. With that, Akshay, any last words?
Yeah, thank you everyone, and thanks for hosting.